All right, Chris, the Panthers, they're 0-2 still. Nothing's changed. It's Monday night, and it still stinks. It still hurts.
I am still not over that loss, and it's not really because of the loss. It's just because of I had higher hopes for the offense, man. What is wrong?
I think a lot of people did. Well, we're gonna discuss what's wrong coming up. Let's get this sucker started.
The state of North Carolina covers 53,000 square miles. It is the habitat of the feared Carolina Panthers. Get dialed in, Panthers fans, for an in-depth look at your team, exclusive interviews, locker room insight. Let's huddle up for Panthers Playbook. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lea.
Welcome back to Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lea, Dennis Cox here with you. Thanks again for tuning in, tapping in here with us today. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of the episodes that we drop, because we have one every Thursday and we have one after every single game. So make sure you don't miss any of the content that we put out, whether it's on your favorite podcast platform or right here on YouTube on 99.9 The Fans YouTube page. So hit the likes and leave comments of what we discussed today, including Chris, Bryce Young. We're going to get into, are they doing the right stuff around him here in a little bit. But the first things first, we're recording this on Wednesday. He didn't participate in walkthrough because of an ankle injury. Now, you saw something in the locker room post-game about how Bryce Young was walking. You thought it was maybe a body language thing, but might be something more with an ankle injury.
Yeah, it makes sense now, and I think I said it on the podcast after the game Monday night, Tuesday morning, depending on when you listen to it. It didn't look like a normal walk. It wasn't quite a limp, so he wasn't favoring an ankle or anything like that. But like he literally was dragging his feet along the ground. He was walking like that, and head down, shoulders were like really slumped down, and just like it felt like all of his weight was just coming down into his body. He wasn't walking high up with confidence the way I've seen him walk before, covering training camp and rookie mini camp and different things like that. So it was very interesting to see. He was walking to the trainer's room as that was happening, past the locker room. So I kind of thought that was normal, because every player, you play football in the NFL, something might be a little dinged after the game. So I didn't think too much of it then, but now it's starting to make sense. But I will say this. I am not a doctor. I don't know what's going on with his ankle. I don't have any inside knowledge or anything like that. But what I saw on Monday night, it didn't look like somebody walking who couldn't be able to potentially run in a few days. Now, that was also right after the game. Adrenaline could be flowing. We don't know the swelling situation. We don't know if he tweaked it coming down a step or something in his house. So, there's all kinds of caveats there. Do not take my word for it, because we don't know. He may not play on Sunday. And if he doesn't, Andy Dalton, you're up.
Something to keep in mind, something to keep our eyes on. Again, we're recording this on Wednesday evening, so what to keep an eye out, Thursday's practice report and all that. Now, there is something to keep in mind, is that this was 2 days after game as opposed to a normal Sunday, 1 o'clock kickoff, because it was a Monday night. So a walkthrough 2 days later, a guy not practicing isn't out of the norm.
Right.
My guess is they're probably holding him out just as a precautionary thing, just like, it's literally just a walkthrough. We're not going full speed, but there's no sense in you taking dropbacks right now and maybe even rolling it and injuring their ankle even further. So, let's rehab, do all the quote-unquote mental reps, be out there at practice, do all those kinds of things. Because shorter week getting ready for the Seattle Seahawks, but as we get ready for the Seattle Seahawks, or the Panthers get ready for the Seahawks in Seattle this coming Sunday, the question is, are they doing enough? Are they doing the right things around Bryce Young? Because it's not enough right now. They've scored 27 points in 2 games. But are they doing the right things around Bryce Young to support him? Because the question's being asked right now, is Bryce Young the NFL-ready quarterback that we expected him to be coming out of college? That a lot of the scouts, a lot of the GMs, blah, 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 all the people in the know said, hey, this guy's NFL-ready. Between the years, has the arm strength. The big question was obviously just his size. But it's kind of hard to be NFL ready when on 33% of your dropbacks, this is an actual stat, 33% of your dropbacks, he's been pressured. this season. 33%. Are you doing the right things around him? He might be NFL ready, but that doesn't mean the team around him is doing the right stuff around him, Chris, because let's be honest, around him stinks right now. It flat stinks from play calling to execution to personnel. A lot of it just flat stinks.
You're absolutely right. It does. And there's a lot that could be said about it. I will say this. This isn't the Panthers' fault, but I do think that the offensive line and some of that stat that you mentioned, I think that improves when Austin Corbett is able to come back into the lineup.
Yeah.
You still lose a little bit not having Brady Christensen, but I think that the Panthers will try to figure something out at that other guard spot because it really didn't look good. Maybe Throckmorton is your guy because he eventually came in for Cade Mays, who just didn't look like he was ready on Monday night, and then so maybe a veteran like that alongside Austin Corbett when he comes back makes that line look better. So maybe the pressures kind of lessen a little bit. After that, this is all up to the coaching staff, right? Because, again, I just kind of go back to what I was saying the other night. I just don't see what I thought we were going to see as far as from an offensive standpoint.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking that the Panthers were going to be a top 10 offense. I didn't think that, we were going to look at them and think they're going to, score 30 points per game or anything like that. But it wasn't easy. There wasn't anything that just seemed like this is just within their flow of their offense. And they couldn't sustain drives. I mean, you pointed out to me the other night, Saints had, 3 drives of 10-plus plays, and the Panthers answered it each time with a 3-and-out.
3-and-out.
So it does come down to personnel. It does come down to play calling. It probably comes down to scheme, too. I'm going to keep bringing up that word.
Yeah.
Because that's the word we heard a lot. Like, I don't see anything creative about the play calling, the scheme, or anything right now. And I am very much so disappointed in a lot of the pieces on this team. But mainly, I'm disappointed in the coaching staff.
A big-time disappointment in the coaching staff. Now, there's been a lot of questions about, hey, should Frank Reich give Thomas Brown the play calling? Because in the preseason, Thomas Brown was actually doing a lot of the play calling. Frank Reich was doing some, but Brown was also just calling the plays in directly himself. So in the preseason, we were told, hey, what you're seeing right now, it's vanilla. It's just super base stuff. We're not actually going to show you any of the stuff we're going to do during the regular season.
And it's still vanilla.
Okay. Exactly. What's different? You ran the same run between the tackles with Miles Sanders, except this time it's from the pistol formation. Ooh, haven't seen that before in the NFL. Let's be real.
I think they sprinkled just a little bit of nutmeg in that vanilla, just a little bit, just like a little quick dash, and that was it. It's not just vanilla; it's vanilla with a little bit of nutmeg.
Yeah, okay. I don't taste anything right now. Whatever it is, it tastes terrible. That's what it is. It doesn't even taste like vanilla. Vanilla is at least a flavor. This is just flat bland. Like, it doesn't taste like anything. It's awful. It stinks. It's
true.
like biting into a raw potato. What good is this? It's awful.
Raw potato might be better.
If you might be right. But here's the thing. The play calling hasn't been great because I don't see this team willingly trying to take some shots downfield. Now Frank Reich earlier this week on Tuesday did say that he feels like the team is close to breaking through. Okay, Frank, you've also told us that we're going to see more than what the quote-unquote vanilla that we saw in the preseason, and we haven't seen that yet. So when you tell us this, you're met with skepticism, and rightfully so. And yeah, the scheme, I'm sorry, the playmaker that they're trying to get the ball out to in the perimeter is Adam Thielen. I'm like, Thielen, 7 catches, 52 yards. Like, that's it. And here's the thing. You look at Bryce, 22 of 33 passing. Like, okay, like he's completing literally 2/3 of his passes. But for 153 yards, you're averaging just under 4.5 yards per attempt. Like, there's no explosive plays out here. What are we doing?
I got to go back and figure out who tweeted it. But if you're part of Panthers Twitter, you've probably seen it. Somebody tweeted out a chart today of accurate or how accurate quarterbacks are. And Bryce Young,
like the window opened,
Bryce Young has no windows open basically compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
And still pretty accurate in that case. So going back to like maybe what we thought he was going to be in the NFL or whatever, maybe it comes down to if once Austin Corbett gets in there and the line is better, and once wide receivers start getting a little bit of separation, maybe we start seeing Bryce Young look a little bit better, right?
Maybe.
Because he's still, like, for as disappointed as we are, really the real disappointment isn't at the end of the day. The real disappointment is not Bryce himself, right?
Yeah.
There's been a few mistakes that, of course, is fixable. Things that you don't look at and say, like, oh, he's horrible. You don't see that. I did think that, like, he lost a little bit of a swagger, though, at a certain point in the game. But there's nothing about his game so far that made me think, what do we do with this number 1 overall pick, man? This was a waste. I'm not there yet. I know some people are there. I'm not there yet because I don't think that he is operating horribly. He's operating like a rookie who has a compromised offensive line, who has a sketchy play calling in his ear, and who has wide receivers who aren't separating.
No.
And you have all of those factors, and he's still delivering the ball accurately to those guys. This guy can play in the NFL. We just need to make sure he's not going to be Superman like Cam. He's not going to be able to take lemons and make lemonade. We're going to have to serve him the lemonade, and he just has to provide the sugar.
I like that analogy. I think a lot of people were expecting him, because he's going to be NFL ready, is that he was just going to automatically just elevate this average talent around him. Like, he was just going to do that, like a veteran quarterback would do. Like we're seeing with Patrick Mahomes. It's like, okay, like Travis Kelce ain't playing, but like all of a sudden Sky Moore's getting some touches and things like that, because he doesn't have the big weapons that he had in recent seasons. Like I think a lot of people were expecting him to elevate all these other guys. I'm like, that's a lot to ask a rookie quarterback to do day one. A lot. That's a ton to ask. And I think I brought this up earlier this week on The Drive with Tim Donnelly, which is on 3 to 6 on 99.9 The Fan in Raleigh. I asked him this question. Do you feel like Bryce, because of, let's just say, the mediocrity around him, that he feels like he has to do more to make up for that difference, like to make up that gap? Because, okay, these guys aren't getting open. Like, I have to hold on to the ball a little bit longer to maybe make a play, and hopefully someone does get open, because I don't trust what's going on around me. Like, maybe he doesn't feel like around him things aren't on his level, whether it's between the ears or skill level, that he has to then take on more to try and elevate these people. And it's way too much, way too early for him, as opposed to when we see sometimes with young quarterbacks, you surround them with great talent, and then they can build their way up into being the elevator of everyone else. Does that make sense? I feel like he might be putting that pressure on himself to try and elevate everyone, and he's just not ready for that yet.
It makes sense to me, but I don't know if he's there yet, because I don't see him pushing it. I don't see him doing like crazy reckless stuff. He's not like Baker Mayfield out there, which Baker Mayfield, by the way, playing very well. But what we've seen in recent years from Baker Mayfield, where he's just kind of pushing it and trying to make something happen that's not there. He's thrown the ball away on multiple occasions, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, if it weren't for Jesse Bates being Jesse Bates, he probably only has that fumble loss from the Saints game. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm not there yet with him, but that could possibly be a part of it. I'm not saying no to what you're saying, but I'm just saying mostly right now, I don't think his game has reflected that he's pushing too much. He just doesn't have the options that's there.
Again, make sure whatever your thoughts are on Bryce Young and this team right now, whether it's your thoughts on Frank Reich, leave it in the comments section down below, because we want to hear your thoughts. I want to interact with you, and if Chris wants to interact with you, we want to know what your thoughts are as Panthers fans right now. All right, Chris, you had something that you really wanted to make a point on. You didn't tell me this before the show when we were prepping for this episode.
Not that I really want to make a point on, but something that I think will be, when I looked at it, I don't know if it's a huge surprise. Maybe it's not a huge surprise, but when I looked at it, I was like, oh, okay. Who is the highest graded player per PFF on the Panthers offense?
The highest graded player according to Pro Football Focus?
Yes.
You're about to tell me Ike Kwani, aren't you?
Adam Thielen, bro.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
And he's also one of the highest rated blockers on the team as well, in run blocking and well, not pass blocking, but in run blocking.
Yeah.
So like he has an 80.7 grade, and then his rank in the NFL. Sorry, I'm looking at my my numbers over here on my other computer over here. Out of 113 wide receivers who are graded right now in the NFL, he's 40th.
Okay.
So he's still a top half wide receiver, right?
Okay.
As of right now, right?
As of
Like
right
things can always change, but and within the scheme, within the vanilla that he's been given with the sprinkle of nutmeg, he's been able to find the holes and get open. He had 7 catches the other night. I mean, it wasn't for a lot of yards. He had the touchdown and everything like that. But Adam Thielen doesn't look as bad, according to the numbers, according to PFF right now. Let me go back to this other page.
Yeah, and Thielen's been fine. I think it's everyone else around him that's, obviously DJ Chark's only played in 1 game, but okay, he had 1 reception and he drew a pass interference call. That's all he's done. Jonathan Mingo played 22 snaps. I'm sorry, Terrence Marshall Jr. played 22 snaps on Monday. Didn't even notice he was out there for 22 snaps. And then Jonathan Mingo, just a couple of catches for 26 yards. Hey, you spent a second-round pick on that guy. You expect more production. Not gonna ask for like 100 catches and 1,200 yards as a rookie as a second-round pick. Obviously, you'll take it, but you're hoping maybe to get a little bit more from what these guys are. But I mean, honestly, Thielen, other than Hayden Hurst in game 1, Thielen's the only been consistent person out there in terms of the skill positions.
Well, let me share more with you.
Go on.
Hayden Hurst has the 2nd worst grade through 2 games on the team. So
I got a number for you, Chris.
What's the number?
27. That's the number of points the Panthers have scored in 2 games. 27. There's the number. That's the only number I care about right now.
That's Chandler Zavala's grade too, through 2 games.
There it is. Gosh.
Yeah, it's not
terrible.
good.
It's
not
terrible.
good. It's not good. And I hate to say it, but Matt Rule led Panthers team in 2020 look better on offense through 2 games than what this team does.
Surprisingly enough, better skill guys. Imagine that. Better skill guys around, and they had Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. And better
Curtis
skill
Samuel
guys. Curtis Samuel,
that
which
year.
up in Washington ain't doing squat right now, but nevertheless,
he stays hurt.
That's the thing. Well, they signed DJ Chark to take his place. Go figure. Let's be real. Call it what it is. Final thing to wrap up here as we get ready for Sunday's game. Final thing. I texted you this earlier this week, during the game actually. Why is Jeremy Chinn come off the field? Why does Jeremy Chinn come off the field? We hear about his versatility, all the things he can do, pass coverage, play at the line of scrimmage. Dude played only 27 snaps. 27 snaps, 35% of the defensive snaps. And guess who was when he was out there consistently making plays was Jeremy Chinn. He had a nice tackle at the goal line, amazing pass breakup, a couple other tackles at the line of scrimmage as well. Dude's only out there for 27 defensive snaps. You got to get more from your top players, but you also have to do the right things. We talk about offensively scheming things to put guys in position to make big plays. Well, that's also in you, Ejiro Evero, to defensively scheme things to make sure that guys like Jeremy Chinn are on the field and making plays. That's on you, man. Yeah. This coaching staff, the roster management, what they're doing right now, I think is totally mismanaged, and they're not maximizing any sort of potential with their players, offense or defense.
The only thing I have to add to that is Jeremy Chinn is the 4th highest graded player on defense. You need to have that guy out there a little bit longer. And it'll be interesting to see, but now that Shaq Thompson is down, do you figure out more packages where you can have Jeremy Chinn pretty much taking Shaq's place? You miss a little bit in size, but you still have that speed and you have the tackling ability that's there and the athleticism. So I don't think you lose out on anything having him out there if you were to.
A lot to figure out, but a lot to figure out on Sunday. They kick off at 4 o'clock. The Panthers are on the road at the Seattle Seahawks. Chris, you and I are going to have an episode, another Panthers Playbook, immediately following the game. Tap in, make sure you hit the notification bell, subscribe, hit the likes, and again, leave comments as well. Boost the algorithm for us. But also, we want the Panthers to win. As much as we complain right now, we want the Panthers to win because it's more fun when the Panthers win. And hopefully they get one on Sunday. Need to have it, got to have it. Just going to flat out say it. But make sure, again, subscribe wherever you are. We'll see you on Sunday night.